Welcome back to the Wealth Chat, where we talk business, banking, and real estate. My name is Benaisha Poole Watson, and today my guest is the amazing, super dope, my good girlfriend and co-host, Jewell Tankard. Stay tuned. Hey, girl. I'm so happy to be interviewing you today.
Yes.
And so I want to talk a little bit more about who you are. We want the people
Yeah.
to know, who is Jewell Tankard? Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about where you grew up.
So I actually grew up downtown Detroit. My parents were the first African Americans to have a business downtown Detroit. And so mom and dad were like a power couple before people really started talking about power couple. And I saw them work like long hours and I saw them really, their work ethic was really strong. We were blessed because they had a chain of record stores called LaGrange's Records and Tapes. And so I grew up seeing them work hard. Motown, a lot
Yeah.
of the greats, People Bryson, Minnie Riperton, all of them would come into the store and do, these autograph signings. And I grew up in that. And so as a result, we grew up like with his and her Rolls Royce, his and her Mercedes. I had a Volvo at 16, housekeepers, cooks, drivers. And then at 19, we lost everything.
What?
And girl, I was devastated. My dad went into a depression. And I ended up being really kind of angry with my mom because as I started to ask her questions, I started to realize my mom did not trust her own financial instinct.
Mm,
My dad has always been, even to this day, an amazing producer. He just knows how to make money,
yeah.
but his strength was not management or
Mm,
investing. So nothing was paid off. And so I'm finding all this out. I'm angry with her because she instinctively would have been a very good manager, but because it was her husband,
mhm,
he made all the choices where finances were concerned, even though it was against her better judgment.
mm,
And so then, girl, I started dating drug dealers. Okay,
mhm.
don't judge me.
Okay, well, this is Detroit,
This
so
teacher.
what else we gonna do?
And so literally that was like the financial plan because I was just trying to like regain this lifestyle that I had
Yeah.
become accustomed to living. And then I
Mm,
quickly realized after a couple years, it was fun doing the yachts and the fast cars, but they started getting indicted and getting killed. And
yeah.
I realized like, okay, this is not it. And so I had to really ask myself, like, Jewel, you went from your daddy taking care of you to men taking care of you. Like,
Mm,
why can't you take care of yourself?
mm,
And that kind of started my journey on this whole entrepreneurship thing. That was
yeah.
kind of the launching pad.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so what was your first job as an entrepreneur coming outside of other people and what they can do for you? What did you
Yeah.
do for yourself? What was the first thing you did?
So the first thing I did, I was attending University of Michigan at the time. I changed
Mhm.
my major to economics and I started selling cell phones.
Okay.
With a company called Ameritech at the
Mhm.
time. And I got really good at it.
Yeah.
And I started like blowing up the charts, winning all the trips and, winning all the bonuses. And this is when I realized I was really good in sales.
Mm.
And then I ended up getting married to someone that actually my godparents warned me not to marry him
Mhm.
because I was a go-getter and they saw in him, he's not the go-getter that you think.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, we ended up getting married and it did kind of dim my light. I remember working for a temp agency answering phones. And that's when I
Mm.
realized I was not cut to make,
Yeah.
but I was pregnant at the time with our beautiful baby girl, Cyrene. And then we ended up having her and he became abusive
Mm.
because he was jealous, ultimately verbally and a couple times physically. And so one day he just called after 2 years of being married, said, I'm not coming back.
Mm.
And, at first I was kind of like, whoa, what just happened? But
Yeah.
then I quickly like moved on, honey. I went out and got a new weave and went to Hilton Head with some girlfriends. Okay.
Not South Carolina.
Listen. And I was just like, I'm not gonna do this. Cause at the
Yeah.
time I was driving a Ford Escort. I was broke. And I realized, I want too much out of life. I moved back in with my parents and then I had an opportunity. I was working for Nextel at that point. Cause Nextel bought out Ameritech and I actually had an opportunity to start my own Nextel franchise. And so
Yeah.
a good friend of mine at the time in Detroit said, hey, I'm gonna back you. And I opened up a Nextel franchise and that's where I made my first million.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy. So you
Yeah.
went from an employee
Yeah.
to an employer.
Yeah, absolutely. And
How
I
old were you
loved
around
it.
that time?
So I was right at about 25.
Yeah.
About 25.
And did
Yeah.
that old guy see what you were doing? Did he even?
Um yeah, he did, but I think he just kind of went into the shell. He just started making crazy decisions, just getting high, partying, and
Yeah.
I just went on into greatness.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, actually, honestly, he told my daughter recently they talked and he said, losing your mom was definitely
Yeah.
a bad
Yeah.
situation. I'm like, that's facts. Sorry for him, glad for me.
Right. No, that's super dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you got into the Nextel business and then you started really employing people,
Yeah.
what made you want to go bigger? I mean, you could have stayed at Nextel and just stayed in that
Yeah.
space and
Yeah.
ran companies and lived in Detroit and
Yeah.
lived
Yeah.
your best life, bought a
Yeah.
4-bedroom house and just stayed. What made you want more?
Yeah, I think I just always knew, like, even as a little girl, like, I just knew that I was going to do great things. I
Yeah.
knew that I was destined for extreme wealth. I think I had a revelation then that there are levels to everything and that I had experienced some success, but I just always wanted more. Like, I
Yeah.
was obsessed with growth. Even at a younger age. And so I ended up going to a Ben Tankard concert. And
This is in Detroit.
This is in Detroit.
Okay.
Ben had come to Detroit. And during intermission, I felt like he was looking at me, girl. You know what I'm saying? And so I put on some lip gloss, like, okay.
Yeah.
But he came up to me during intermission and he said, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Oh, he was definitely looking.
Oh, girl, he was looking.
Okay.
He said, you're supposed to be my wife. Like,
What?
first sentence, girl.
What?
First sentence.
Okay.
And I went in the bathroom like, Jesus, don't play with me.
Now, did you love his music? Did you go to this concert? It wasn't like one of those things where it's like,
Girl.
I really didn't want to go, but my girlfriend asked me to go. Well, how
Yes.
did that go?
Girl, such a good question.
Yeah.
My aunt actually invited me.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is I loved his music,
Yeah.
but guess how I found out about his music? My ex-husband.
Okay.
My ex-husband used to play Ben Tankard all the
Listen.
time.
He was the vessel.
He was
Hello, come on. Bring it over here.
That's so funny. God used him.
Yes.
So yeah, I was watching Ben up there, tall, dark
Yeah.
chocolate, just like thick. I was like, ooh, he was just loving on the Lord and
Yes.
funny. And I could just tell he was like big kind, big fun. And when he said that to me, I honest to God felt like I loved him in that moment.
Wow. Just
In
that
moment.
minute.
In that moment.
I love it.
And after the concert that night, we exchanged numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He took me out on his tour bus, introduced me to the band. I walked on the tour bus. I remember my aunt was behind me
Shut
like,
your
we
mouth.
claim all of this, honest to God. And we talked to 4:00 in that morning. And he was talking. He was such a big talker. I fell in love with how big he talked. He's
Yeah.
like, we gonna fly all over the world. He was a pilot at the
Yeah.
time. And he's like, I'm gonna buy us our own airplane. We gonna do this. We gonna live in
This
mansion.
is the first night.
Girl. Honest to God.
Okay.
Honest to God. He
A man
talked
who knows
so,
what he
Girl, he was so
wants.
decisive.
Come on.
And that's what made me fall in love with him. And I had been believing in the book of Esther, the Bible says when King Xerxes saw Esther,
Yeah.
he said, I will give you half of the kingdom.
Mm.
And he gave her 7 maidens and laid her out. And that's what I believe for. Because at that point in my life, I just was tired of dating and, just the back and forth. Is he it? If he not? I was like, Lord, I want this man to know me,
Yeah.
to see me and come after me. And Ben pursued me like no other man had ever pursued me.
Now, where was your aunt at the time of all of this?
Child, she was right there.
For real?
She was right there like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, she was instrumental. She ended up being the maid of honor in our wedding.
So from that point, did he move to Detroit or did you move
No,
somewhere?
I wanted him to move to Detroit because I love Detroit. Detroit is a place where Black people really can come and just
Yeah.
flourish and do their thing. And I come from a big family, and so I was close to them and had all my friends. And I wanted to move. I wanted him to move. He's like, absolutely not. You're coming to Nashville, because he had established a great life in Nashville, and he had 4 children at the time. They were younger, like 8, 10, 7, and he's just like, I'm not leaving my babies.
Yes.
He said, but you fly down, and we dated for like a year. He said, fly down. I want you to pick out your house. And but at this time, he was going through some financial hardships because he had been married twice.
Mm-hmm.
So he had alimony, he had child
Okay, I'm just
support.
taking notes because
Girl.
twice knew what he wanted. He already had children. Okay, keep going. And he said, "Move with me." Okay, I got this down.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I believed in him. He made me believe in him because of how big he talked. He
Yeah.
was so clear and so certain.
Yes.
And he was a great producer like my daddy, but not the best manager. But he was able to acknowledge these are my weaknesses.
Yes.
Clearly, you're really good with economics. So I'm going to give you all my royalties and let you manage it and let you help me get out of debt.
Yeah.
Because he bought a lot, but he lost a lot.
Yeah. He had that piece that you saw was missing.
Yeah. I wasn't afraid of
from
his
your
weakness.
experience growing up. You saw what took
Girl,
place, so you were like,
girl.
okay, this is how I can add value to you. I already know, and then of course that's music to his ears.
Girl.
He was like, wait a minute, who? What? You did what now? You can help me. This is great.
Girl.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't afraid of his weakness.
Yeah, and he accepted your daughter. You accepted his kids.
Oh my gosh. What's crazy is my daughter at the time was like 2.5. Honest
Yeah.
to God, he came over to my house because I told him, I said, I'm not going out on a date with you until you meet my godparents and my parents.
Yeah.
Because I just was like, I can't trust myself.
Mhm.
Like, because I feel like you're it and I need to have accountability.
Reassurance.
Yeah. And I just, honest to God, I was like, I'm just not having sex with you.
Right.
Like, I just can't, like, I can't risk that.
Right.
And so,
especially with the baby.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, I can't. So he came to my parents' house, and as soon as my daughter saw him, she got on his lap and said, hi, daddy.
What?
My parents were so pissed because they thought that I told her that. And I said, no, I didn't tell her that. I was
Yeah.
so embarrassed, but it was a God thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So was he a pastor at that time?
No, he
Okay.
was just a full jazz musician.
But he just loved the Lord.
He just loved the
Okay.
Lord. He grew up in church and, and I loved him because he wasn't like religious. He had a relationship with God,
Yes.
but he was just himself. He didn't have like a different voice, or he was just himself. He was a creative. He was brilliant. And he knew, like I said, he knew his strengths, but he knew his weaknesses.
Yeah.
And he wasn't insecure about what I had become.
Yes.
Because I told him, I was like, babe, I'm a big personality. I love to travel. I love to go. I love people. And he's like, go do all that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to like hinder any of that. Cause that's what I was afraid of. Because before, when I would say I was going to a business meeting with my ex, they'd be like,
Right.
it was like this jealous thing. And I was like, I need somebody in full support. And when he started showing that, I was like, oh, you can handle all this.
Yes. When when you have support, I'm telling you, it's a whole nother level.
It's a whole nother thing.
It opens the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
Pandora's box is open. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, what else do you need?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted
love
to be
it.
his girlfriend. I wanted to be the mother to his children. I wanted to be that nurturer. I
Yeah.
wanted like the way he loved me early. And I remember, I'll never forget this girl, honest to God, he said, write down all your bills
Yeah.
and send them to me. And I did. And he literally started paying my bills like the second month.
Come on.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
What the what? Child. Okay, so we have gotten deep in the woods of how y'all got together, but when you got together, he saw who you were from the
Yeah.
beginning. You saw who he was,
Yeah.
and he didn't stunt your growth. He helped you. He
Yeah.
supported you. He was like
Yeah.
a tree
Yeah.
foundation,
Yeah.
and your leaves could just blossom, right?
Girl,
So what did
yes.
you do when you had an opportunity to figure out, okay, after I've gotten married, after I've made my husband completely happy and he
Yeah.
knows his value and worth, I want to
Yeah.
keep being me.
Yeah.
What was the first step? What was the
Yeah.
first thing you did to continue on your journey of entrepreneurship after that?
Yeah. So I took probably about 3 years
Mm.
to just travel with him everywhere.
Yes. Because you
And
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had to, like, because I was in such a grind mode. And then I come from a workaholic family, and then
Mhm.
I'm workaholic.
Yep.
So I had to learn how to just let him take care of me.
Yes.
Which was not easy because I've always used to having my own money. And then I needed to blend the family together because the
Yeah.
children had gone through some hurt, through the divorce and
Mhm.
just a lot there. So there was a lot of healing that needed to happen with them.
Yeah.
And I just was trying to be that bridge
Mhm.
between him and his ex. So
Mhm.
I took that time. And then after that, I was like, baby, okay, I'm getting bored. I was gaining
Yes.
weight. And I was like, okay, it's time. So I started doing skincare.
Skincare.
Yeah.
You
I was-
cannot go wrong with
Yeah.
skincare.
Yeah.
So When it comes to women and their appearance and how
Yeah.
they value themselves and
Yeah.
what, feeding yourself from the inside, but also being beautiful on the outside, that's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
an industry that's never going to go away, right?
No. No.
So we're going to talk more about that when we
Yes.
come back.
All right.
Welcome back to the Wealth Chat, where we talk business, banking, and real estate. And I want to talk so much more with my beautiful, good girlfriend and co-host, Jewell Tankard. So we left off on this skincare conversation.
Yes.
So what made you go into skincare of all industries that exist from the telecommunications sector?
I know, right? Girl, I think I was just like, I met a girlfriend down there because I moved from Detroit to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville. So it's very different. It was only
Yes.
like less than 10% like people of color, even
Wow.
now. And so I was like, oh Lord, but I ended up meeting somebody and she was in skincare and she's like, you should do this. And I was like, let's do it. I was just itching to do something because I knew I was good at sales and I loved the community. And I think that was the thing that I really missed. I missed the community. So that's what kind of got me started, and I have fun. And so I would do Ben's concerts, and then I would set up my like skincare table, and he would call me up, and I talk to the women. I go in there looking cute, so they'd be like, "Okay, if I get that,
Yeah.
And so, so that's how it kind of started. So I think I stuck with that for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in another business, and then I think from there I realized that there was like this pulling on me to empower women financially. And I started off doing a book club, and I called it the Millionaires Club.
Yeah.
And we would read books, and then we would talk money, because it was crazy to me. I was meeting so many women who, because of death or divorce or just whatever, financially were not in good places. Maybe they were when they were with their, significant others or whatever. And I was just like, this is a situation. And it really started to bother me the more I heard. And so that kind of took on a life of its own. And I ended up getting heavily involved in gold and silver, and then real estate, and then cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And so,
well, what made you do that though? Like, okay, you're in the book club. Were these mostly African American women?
Yeah.
Or okay,
Yeah,
and
they
where'd you
were.
find them if it was like 10% black?
girl, so we ended up starting a Bible study in our house. Okay. So we started a Bible study in our house, and then eventually, we started our church, Destiny
Start
Center.
building.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so most of them were, women that had come to our house for Bible study.
Yeah.
And we started with like 10 people, then it grew to 20, then it grew to 30. And then we were like, okay, it's time. And then we started an official church.
Yeah.
So most of those people came locally.
Like a local tribe.
Yeah, local
Okay.
tribe. Yep. And then they
Okay.
started telling people, they told people. And then we
How
look
big
up,
did it grow?
And so we have about maybe 350 people.
Wow.
Yeah, women from all over, about 3 different continents. And so now we meet on Zoom,
Yeah.
twice a month. But that's how it started.
Okay.
And,
So have you written any books?
I have, girl.
Okay, let's talk about this.
I
So you
know,
went from the book
right?
club to the author. You went from the employee to the employee. You just have a pattern of you have a jetpack on your back. You're not playing no games in the middle. You're just going straight forward, right?
You know how we do. Yeah, so I wrote a book called The Millionaire's Lifestyle, because again, I wanted women to, wealth is just about options.
Yeah.
I want them to have freedom. I want them to control their own lives. I want them to, if they decide that they want to send Stacy to, Boys and Girls Club for the summer, that's great. But what if they want to send them to University of Scotland?
Right.
What if they want them to go to Harvard for the summer? So I just wanted them to know that you can have options, because the conversation that I did not want to hear is, I got to ask my husband, because you don't ask him what to
Right.
cook for dinner. You don't ask him what to make for breakfast. You don't ask him, about buying that rug for that couch. You just go do it. But when it came to money, there was just this serious sense of inadequacy with women across the board. So that kind of started the whole conversation. And so that's what Millionaire's Lifestyle is about, how I started and kind of how I got to where I was. And then more recently, this book has done really, really well. Mind of a Millionaire's. It's in Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes
Wait, so how many
Noble.
books so far?
So 2 books.
2 books.
2 books.
So
and
it's
then I
your
have a
second
couple
one.
ebooks. Yeah. And so that book really just delve into everything from how to negotiate deals to trusting your instinct to still having a good marriage. Because that's what I want women to know too. Because sometimes I feel like, you know, like you this boss babe, but you can still have a really great marriage.
Yes.
I have a great marriage with my husband. I know when to put the focus, it's just the Ben show.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Sometimes I talk to him about deals, sometimes I don't. You know what I mean?
But he's a safe space.
He's in it.
Yeah, it can go either way.
It can go either way. And so I think I wanted women to know that you could have that and then have discretion. You know what I mean? That though we're very close and I talk to him about pretty much everything, there's certain things like, no, because it's not a competition. I want him to always know that he's the king, he's the man, and I'm going to be his chest and I got his pom-poms and knowing how to function in and out of that.
It's a balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
Okay, so let's get into this crypto.
Ooh, girl. Yeah.
Let's get into these other things that we have gotten into. Okay, so we went from becoming an author, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And you said it's on the bestseller?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Woo, woo, woo.
I know. So grateful.
That's awesome. Okay, so what made you go into crypto? I know it was a big hype. You know, a lot of people were doing it. A lot of people were skeptical. Why did you take that leap into crypto? What made you feel confident and comfortable? Was it someone who kind of like walked you through it?
Yeah.
Because there's really not a lot about crypto. The people who got into it really... There's no course, there's no class. So what made you do it?
No, it's such a good question because I pretty much narrowed down. I only have a couple wealth mentors.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people look to ask people questions about things that they don't know.
Yeah.
And the guy that was telling me at the time, get Bitcoin. He's worth like, 300 million.
Yeah.
And I had just become a part of his university, his course. And he just kept saying, Jewel, did you get your Bitcoin? Did you? And Bitcoin was like $3,500 at the time. And because
it was only $3,500.
It was only $3,500 at the time.
So you came in when everybody was like,
scared, it's a scam, don't do it. But he was so clear and confident, and I knew what he built.
Yes.
And I trusted what he built, and I like what he built. And I always found myself at the beginning of disruption. I seem to always be like Nextel when it first came out, like two-way radio, cell phone, like what?
Yeah.
I always found myself in these disruptive things that couldn't be quite explained.
Innovative.
And very innovative.
So you took risks.
I took risks.
So you're like me.
Girl,
that's why we're here.
That's why we sisters.
Yeah. Come on.
That's exactly
Yeah, we think alike.
Yeah, exactly.
This is great.
Yeah. And so that's why I started buying it. And then and I kept buying it and kept buying it. And next thing I knew it, climbed to 5, then 10. And people kept speaking against it. And I kept buying more and buying more. And one day I was sitting down with the girl who runs my operations. And she's like, hey, when was the last time you checked this account? I was like, oh, it's been a minute. And she's like, girl, you got over 300,000 over here. And I was like,
300,000 US dollars.
Bitcoin.
Now, how does that translate in the US for the people, in the back?
Well, well, it translated into the value of 300,000 US dollars. At the time. And I was like...
And you invested $3,500 to start.
Well, yeah, but I kept saving it.
Right.
I was on autosave. So every single week, it was just on autosave.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it. And I forgot about that account. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And so once I saw that, I just continued to just throw myself into disruptive things. And
now,
so
what was the time frame from the 35 to the 300?
I would say...
For the people in the back.
Right. I know. Probably about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years.
So sometimes when you invest, the goal is like, if you're going to invest something, and I think the point is that if you're going to invest something, it's not something that you need to watch every 5 minutes.
No.
It's not like the baby in the crib.
Yeah.
Let the baby sleep.
Let the
man
sleep.
rest. He just works hard all day. Let him go lay down. You ain't got to tell him, hey, shake him. Food is ready. He'll get up when he's ready.
Listen.
And that money got up when it was ready, didn't it?
Come on,
okay.
girl.
I love it.
Listen, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so I just learned to keep doing that, following that same. And so my wealth mentors are very on one hand.
Yes.
And again, these are people that have, quadruple what I've built, 10x 50x what I built.
Yes.
And that's what I try to tell people. When you get advice from people, make sure that they are where you desire to be. Because unfortunately, when people are on the same level or sometimes not even where you are, they tend to not want to move for whatever reason. There's like this spirit of procrastination and this unbelief that follows them that causes them, unfortunately, to be where they are.
Yeah. It stunts their growth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So let me ask you this on your mentor. You know how a lot of times, I practice this, but I want to see receipts. Like if you're going to teach me something, if you're going to show me something, I want to make sure that you've actually achieved it versus someone who's just telling me to do X, Y, Z.
For real.
And trying to build money or build themselves off my back. Like we're trying to go together.
Yes.
So did this person take the time to like show receipts and break it down?
Oh yeah. He's the kind, like if you're at his penthouse in Vegas, he'd be like, look at this account right here.
Yeah.
Look at this. I moved this. Or like I was in a
everybody probably
check.
gathered around like, wait a minute. Did you just say this?
Yeah. He was very open.
Yeah.
And I loved it because we were all in a chat. It was just a few of us. We were all in a chat together and everybody would say, oh, this is what I made today.
Yeah.
And they would screenshot it. Like that was you almost knew. Don't say you made it without a screenshot coming after. And that's when, because I'm kind of like you, I wanted to see the receipts, but that's when I really was like, okay, so this is next level.
Yes.
Because everybody's claiming wealth right now.
Right.
Everyone's talking about financial literacy and financial empowerment. And there's some real people out there, but there are also some fake teachers. Yeah.
The lies exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know wealth because you know how to be able to take something, put it to the side and not count it.
Yeah.
And that's really what the wealthy do. You
Absolutely.
can't keep counting your coins. You have to have enough set aside
Yep.
to just, this is my investment pot.
Yep.
And this is my pot that I pay bills.
That's
This
it.
is the pot that I play
That's
with.
it, girl.
This is my fun pot.
That's
This is my
it.
girl's time pot.
Yes.
This is my husband's pot.
Yes.
For his gifts and my kids.
Yes.
You have to designate alleys and lanes for everything that you want to do, right? And if it gets a hard time, maybe you can dip into one.
Absolutely.
But you have multiple sources, which is the multiple streams of income.
That's it. And then what I do for myself is I play like games with myself. I'll say, okay, I want this, but I'll get this after I've created new income.
Yes.
I'm always putting a demand on new income.
So you're setting a goal.
Absolutely. I try not to consider what's there.
Yeah.
I always say, okay, if you want to get this, then you got to create this.
Yeah.
And so I do that with everything. I do it with furniture. I do it with anything where I could normally just go grab it or say, no, what are you going to do to create that?
Yeah.
Then that way you're always creating and setting ourselves up to what? Live off of the return on the investment.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the ROI to pay for this, not the principal.
Yes.
I'm going to invest the principal, but I'm using ROI to pay for it.
I want to come back to this, but I don't want to leave out reality TV.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So how did y'all create your own sizzle reel and say, you know, we're going to pitch it? Or did they come to you and ask you? Or how did that even come about?
So it's crazy because we knew we were supposed to be on TV.
Yeah.
Like our family is hilarious.
Yeah.
So Ben already had 4 children. I had 1. So it was like the whole blend was, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, but we had some times that we had to cry too. It wasn't always easy. Or I think the children always really loved me initially, but then there were times it's like, you know, my mama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'd be like, I don't
as they were getting older.
Yeah, as they were getting older, because we married when they were younger.
Yes.
So then it was easier.
Right.
But then when they became teenagers, I wanted to have more structure and rules. And their biological mom was like, they're good.
Did they go back and forth? Or did they primarily say, okay.
They did.
So that was where.
That was a thing.
Yes.
And then Cyrene was with us all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was a thing of not making sure that they felt special too.
Right. Because
you know what I mean?
Spent 100% time.
100% time.
With their dad.
Yeah.
And they had to break it up.
Absolutely. And their mom. So they come over and see all these clothes in the closet and they're like, well, where are our clothes? They're like, well, you got it, but your mama got it in child support.
Right.
But she just didn't spend it the way I would spend it. Yeah. So it was a lot of growth and opportunities for me to mature.
And that was highlighted.
Oh, that was highlighted.
During the show. That was around that time.
Oh, yeah.
So after the show, you guys.
Yeah, no, we doubled down on family meetings.
Yep.
Because we wanted to make sure that after the cameras were gone.
Yep.
And Bravo was actually great to work with. We came on right after Housewives of Atlanta. And so I think it ended up making us closer, but it was a lot of work emotionally and mentally. And then I had to learn how to become more vulnerable.
Right.
And then I met, some amazing friends in reality TV, Heavenly, I've been on Married to Medicine a couple seasons and, just being a friend of her and some stuff, and just doing
Yeah.
other reality TV that
Because that's how we met. Hello.
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Emily's event. Absolutely. Yeah. So I would say reality TV is great for people who really are clear on who they are.
Yes.
But if you're not sure on who you are,
Yeah.
they're coming for your weakness.
Yeah.
And it can be very destructive.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Sis, thank you so much for sitting on the other side of this couch today and being interviewed and telling your story. I think it's going to change somebody's life. I think it's going to inspire someone. I think it's going to empower someone to take that leap into entrepreneurship. I want to thank you guys for watching. This is the Wealth Chat. My name is Benaisha Poole Watson, and we are talking business, banking, and real estate. Smash that subscribe button and subscribe to both of our socials. We'll see you soon. Have you ever wondered how moguls move? My name is Benaisha Poole Watson.
And I'm Jewell Tankard.
And we are
The Wealth Chat, where we talk about business, banking, and real estate.
If you like what you just heard, smash that like button.
And make sure you subscribe to our channel.